Welcome to another edition of Inside the Program, brought to you by InsideTexas.com. I'm your host, Justin Wells. My co-pilot, as always, Eric Nalin. Listeners, like and subscribe to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. This thing is growing. Come join the mix. Let's get right to it, Eric. We got a lot of stuff to cover in a small amount of time. Spring position battles is something we're going to talk about today. Defensive tackle recruiting is something else we're going to cover today. So we got a lot to kind of hit on. Let's get right into it. Spring position battles. It's the Underwear Olympics in Austin right now. They're going through conditioning. Tell me a few of the positions of note that you've mentioned or know about that we need to talk about today.
Yeah, well, it's an important reminder that, competition takes place throughout the entire year. It's not just during spring football. It's not just during August camp. They're positioning right now. They're jockeying position. Everything they do is measured. Is they're weighed. They're the accountability is taken. Their schedule, making sure they're on top of all their schedules and tutorials and all these things go into the competition, whether or not they're holding their own. But the actual position battles that I'm paying the closest attention to are I've got left guard, right tackle, so two offensive line positions with with Christian Jones departing, that opens up some playing opportunity for Cam Williams. You got left guard to figure out. We got Sam linebacker. I'll probably put in Will linebacker too, but I put Sam, slot wide receiver, and safety. So you want to start with left guard. Offensive line as well as I do as far as the inside info and the particulars of that. Break down left guard for us.
Yeah, so Hayden Connor's been the left guard for the last few years, as you know. Cole Hudson's been a guy that's repped there in times. He's repped at left guard, center, and right guard, especially. Cam Williams, I think they want Cam Williams to take that right tackle job, Eric. But if he doesn't, Hayden Connor's going to be the guy going into the spring. They're going to see what he can do over there because they know what they have with him. That puts Cole Hudson squarely at left guard, and I think you could put Neto Umeozulu in the conversation. Even Connor Stroh is going to try to get some reps at left guard this spring as well. And so, but I think it's going to all be determined on what happens with right tackle, because with Cam Williams, if he can shed a little bit more weight, get a little bit quicker with his technique and a little bit better in that playbook, I think he can nail down, that right tackle position post spring. And then you've got Hayden Connor back at left guard. But yeah, Cole Hudson's going to be that guy unless that happens.
I don't see Hayden going back to guard personally, just because I think he lacks pop at the point of attack. They're going to really want to build out that run game this year. They've got two war horses to run a lot. They've had that every year, but this could be the best offensive line Steve Sarkisian has had at Texas. So I think they're going to want more pop, and that could be either Cole Hudson or Neto. I'm not ruling out Neto or Cole, but I really like what I saw from Cole when he was healthy. His issue has been ability to stay on the field, not just during the season, but, he missed a lot of practice time last year, missed the entire spring. This is a big spring for him because he can really take a hold of that position. He gets movement, he gets displacement in the run game. I think he's a decent, solid pass protector. Hayden Connor was a good pass protector, but there's too much of a drop off in his run blocking. I'm not sure that Cam is going to hold him off. Honestly, Cam's got a long way to go. I know he's working hard. I like seeing the videos of him sweating like crazy. But he's just got to drop some weight and get quicker. I think Hayden's going to stay there because they really need a third tackle regardless. You don't want to be moving a guy from guard to tackle. You want him getting reps and creating that muscle memory at tackle. So I think it's two actual competitions. I don't think Hayden's going to move back. I could be wrong. That's why we're going to track it closely during the spring.
What about linebacker? You talked about Sam. You talked about Will. I think with David Bendig coming back, I think he's going to stand up in that locker room and try to take one of those spots. And we know that Anthony Hill is replacing Jalen Ford at the mic. Kind of give us the latest on Sam and Will.
Yeah, I'm not entirely 100% sure that Anthony's going to have the chance at Mike. I think they're going to tinker and mess with the differing parts and see what comes out best. I mentioned Sam in the article, but after I wrote the article, I started thinking, Will might be as much as a battle as Sam. So we'll just talk about both of them. At Sam, you've got the two most differing body types at linebacker in Texas, at Maurice Blackwell, who is like a beefed up safety. And then you've got Kendrick Blackshear, who, could have easily grown into an edge if he wanted to. Darian Gillette. Darian Gillette could easily grow into an edge if he wanted to. And so, that position, I think Blackwell's got the inside track because he has the experience. He's got the ability to play in space. That position plays to the wide side of the field. But Gillette is just a whole different physical force, a different athlete as far as a downhill edge pass rusher. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. I think, as Ian Boyd has pointed out, they're going to be in that base package quite a bit this season going into the SEC. So they're going to have to really have two reliable players there. It's just going to be interesting to see. They might play both of them just depending on the look they want. If they want Blackwell in space or they want Gillette rushing the passer. At Will linebacker, you've got Benda and Blackshear, and then Maurice Blackwell could figure in there as well. Maurice played Will quite a bit. Blackshear's the new face. I just kind of think, man, with his size and familiarity with the conference, he's already game playing a bunch of these teams.
Yeah.
Anthony Hill and Blackshear, those look like two SEC linebackers. Now I know Benda is a leader. I know he can run to the ball for sure. He played better last year than ever before, and I think he got better as the season wore on. It's just Anthony Hill just got better at a more rapid pace. But I think Will's going to be interesting. Benda's got experience in the system, but Blackshear's got kind of more of the stereo or the more prototypical size that they're looking for and familiarity with the conference.
And then, let's go to safety, where I think it's it's such a better spring than it was last year. Last year, we were looking at guys like Jaron Thompson, Keaton Crawford, and a walk-on that just got a scholarship named Michael Taft. Now you've got Andrew Makuba, former All-Conference ACC. You've got Derek Williams, who's going to be playing on Sundays in a couple of years. It's a lot better back there, man, especially with the athleticism. What's the latest?
Yeah, and Taft took a big step. I think there was people have been high on Taft since his first few practices. He's very sharp, very good communicator, understands the scheme and what everybody else is supposed to be doing. You got to have good communication back there. He had a good year, and he's a solid athlete and a good tackler too. It's really, it's kind of dealer's choice. I think, Derek Williams is going to be able to probably start because he's either going to be with Makuba or Taft, because you're going to want that steady hand back there.
Right.
So I think what they're going to end up doing is putting Makuba with Williams and probably Taft with McDonald. With Makuba and Williams, you have significant athletic upside, as well as a heady player in Makuba. And Williams, I think, has a chance to become a heady player. It's just, because he got to the field a lot quicker than anybody expected. Still made too many mental mistakes as a freshman. You expect those. His first full spring is going to be big for him. And then if you have Taft with McDonald, now that's going to be a steadying force for McDonald. McDonald's a high-level athlete, tons of length, got prototypical ability back there, but he's new to the position. He's only played there since bowl practices. So you could have Taft back there communicating. Communication is huge in the back end. So really, it plays out to have a veteran leader back there with a young talent that's still learning the ropes, but has the ability to learn pretty quick.
That's the beauty of Jelani McDonald. He's such an athlete that he can play so many spots, but playing so many spots means you don't rep one in particular. So you don't necessarily get really good at it. And I think you nailed it. If he's playing beside Taft, that is a plus right there because of Taft's steadying hand.
He did get some good tutelage as far as in coverage, man coverage last year playing slot. That's really going to prep him to play wherever. They put him at slot to get him ready to play wherever his body was going to take him, whether it's linebacker or safety. Right now, it's the need is at safety. I think he's going to be able to find a long-term home there. Actually, he's a big kid, but not quite as big as what you'd expect to go into linebackers under the way they were recruiting linebacker. I think safety's probably going to be his long-term home. I might have been wrong on that high school evaluation a little bit, but one thing we do know, he's got a very good high football disposition and character. And so he's going to pick things up quick. Comes from a good football family. I'm excited to see Jelani. It's going to be fun to cover him this spring for sure.
When we saw him playing cornerback in the Army Bowl, that was the sign. That was the red flag or the orange flag rather, that hey, he can play DB if he needs to. This guy can turn his hips and he can track and smack, as you like to say. Big fans of McDonald here. Let's go ahead and pay the bills for Andre the Lawyer. If you're ever injured, please call Andre the Lawyer at 214-444-8808. He's located in Dallas, Texas, but Andre helps everyone, including Longhorns, for car wrecks, injured Longhorns, slips and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on the job, wrongful death. There's so many things that could happen to you. Andre the Lawyer will take care of you. Be sure and give him a call if you need that help at 214-444-8808. Eric, now we're going to shift into recruiting, some of our fun stuff in this second half edition of Inside the Program. And we're going to talk about defensive tackles, because that is a very important position, not only in Texas, but going into the SEC. Man, you got to stockpile these big boys because it's bully ball in the Southeastern Conference. You went to see a few guys. I went to see someone, and then we also got our man Charlie talking to Josiah Sharmia. Let's start with you. You went to Holy Mount Zion in Lufkin, Texas to see someone that I've been a big fan of for a while. Talk to me about Zion Williams.
Did you already see the Bob Marley movie? Is that why that's on your mind? I know I called him Mount Zion earlier, but
no. My son asked me if he saw the preview of the movie, so we started listening to Bob Marley on the way to school the other day.
I
And
got
so
you.
yeah, that's where that came from. But it was beautiful, beautiful reference, my man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is the biggest need, and defensive tackle is a huge need every year, but more so now than ever. You mentioned going to the SEC, but also they've only taken two and a half. If Melvin Hills is more DN, as much DN as D tackle, so really only two and a half in the last two cycles. So they've got to hit it big. Zion Williams is my favorite in the class. I also like DJ Sanders quite a bit. Saw him last week. Zion, man, you spoke highly of him. He fit the bill for sure. That's a big kid, broad shoulders, very little fat on him. I mean, he was immense standing next to. But aside all that, just a very very mature, very happy, smart, thoughtful, introspective. A lot of his answers were not typical of a high school recruit. I mean, it just became more of a must get. But when I left there, I felt like that's a kid that's going to go to Texas or normally goes to Texas, even if he doesn't play football. He's an AP student. He's in theater. He was in the Wizard of Oz. He played Santa Claus and I guess whatever thing they have with the kids. His coaches spoke very highly of him. Coach Quick told me that the coaches are on standing orders to anytime they're in a Ross or TJ Maxx or something like that to go look for size 18 shoes for him because they can't find size 18 shoes anywhere. So if they come across them, they just have to buy them. Their next thing they're looking for is some cowboy boots for them. So good luck with that. But man, just a great kid. All right, so I came away glowing about the kid more so than anything than caring about the recruitment. I just wanted him to find a good spot for him. But obviously he liked the visit to LSU. He said there's not a lot of difference between East Texas and being in Louisiana. I think that's true as well. So he felt at home. Obviously, he's got a pretty good relationship with Bo Davis, and he's going to take an official visit there. But, he broke down the 4 schools he's going to take official visits to. It'll be LSU, A&M, TCU, and, of course, Texas. He's just building that relationship with Coach Baker. Baker called him on Valentine's Day, actually, and shared with him that he had a mishap with his wife. I think we all get in trouble on Valentine's Day. We picked the wrong dessert, the wrong dinner place, something like that. So I told Zion, get used to that. Zion's got his girl. He was out with his girlfriend. Just a really engaging kid. I think whatever school is going to get him is going to be quite lucky. But I left feeling that's going to come down to LSU and Texas. And I don't know, just the way that kid's wired, I felt pretty good about Texas, even though it still has a long ways to go.
Did he confirm that he's going to be in Baton Rouge on March 9th for LSU's, after dead period type?
No, he was talking more. He was talking more about the spring game for them, and I think their spring game is April 13th. Didn't rule out any other visits during the spring, but already looking forward to his official visits. He already knows what 4 official visits he's going to take, so at least at this point, that can always change. But very impressive kid, very impressive kid. And on top of the football ability, I don't know why he's rated where he is. To me, he's the top 5 player in the state.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer, and I think the recruiting services will catch up to that as well. If Zion Williams is 1A, can we say Dylan Battle is 1B for in-state defensive tackle targets?
Maybe so, because I don't think Baker's reached out to DJ Sanders yet, and he has reached out to Battle, correct?
Yeah, he's talked to Battle on a few occasions already. I was able to go through Timberview and check out Dylan Battle, 6'2.5", almost 6'3", 300 pounds. I mean, this guy looks good. He's got a great attitude. He's another guy that really focused on education, and I noticed that because he said he really wants to take visits to Cal and to Notre Dame. And it's like, okay, so this guy has his priorities in order. He lives obviously in Mansfield with his mother. His father lives in Michigan, so he's already visited the Wolverines a handful of times, and I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan gets an official visit. I don't know how hard they're pushing right now, but talking to E.J. Holland from the On3 side up in the Wolverine, he talked about that they do like him, and so that'll be an interesting nugget as well. But for his recruitment, this is a kid, I think Texas is squarely in it because they were in it kind of early with him. And granted, this is something that, like Zion, Bo Davis took that relationship they built and took it to Baton Rouge. And so now he's going to visit LSU on March 9th. And so Bo Davis is recruiting from both ends, and you can't blame him for that. But Dylan Battle, really good kid. He was funny because I came into the facility and he had missed the day of school the day before. So he couldn't work out that day. He had to make up classes. And he went ahead and came down there anyway. And his coaches let me talk to him, taking him out of class. We closed the door in the media room, and we spoke for almost 20 minutes. And
Nice.
he was just, he was very engaging. He talked about his teammates. He talked about how education's important. And I'll tell you the thing that really stuck out was Texas getting guys in the draft. We talked about T'Vondre Sweat. He said, wasn't he like a defensive end at like 245, 250 in high school? And I said, that's shockingly accurate. Yes, he's looked at these guys. Byron Murphy, he knows is one of the youngest guys going into the draft. He told me that really matters. He
Yeah.
goes, you got two guys that might go in the first or second round. He said, that's what I want. And that's exactly what I can get. I won't have to go far from home. Texas is going to be in this one. They're going to get an official. His unofficial, his spring schedule, he could hit Austin this spring, but he's definitely going to be there in May or June for an official. Similar to Zion, he knows about 3 or 4 spots that he definitely wants to take those official visits. TCU is going to be in the mix. LSU is going to be in the mix. Texas A&M. It's very similar to Williams in some regards, and so you can see why those are probably the 2 best defensive tackles in the state. I think Texas is doing a good job. I think Sark and PK laid a pretty solid foundation, and Baker has, come right through and picked that up as well. He likes Coach Baker so far. He's eager to kind of get to know him, and so I feel like Dylan Battle is in a similar spot with Zion. They kind of know what they like. They kind of know what's ahead of them, and now they're just going to take their time to see how pieces fit. The last one was someone that we really needed Inside Texas readers to know about, and that's Josiah Sarmia out of Folsom, California. You talk about a big kid. Man, you're looking at what, 6'6", 310, 315, something like that. I mean, this guy could play Shrek if he was in the theater. He is ginormous. Our man Charlie Williams talked to him. A great story posted at InsideTexas.com. Just off his tape and your vibe, what do you think about him, Eric?
Well, yeah, he also wrestles, and he's an easy mover out on the wrestling mat. Big kid, was committed to Washington. Felt like he committed a little early, especially I think he got a rude awakening of college football life where things can change in a hurry with coaching staffs. Nobody thought Kalen DeBoer was going to leave for any time soon, and then Nick Saban leaves, and he's often looking for a new home. So now he's going to take his time. I think Alabama is still very much in it. Texas is showing a lot of interest. Obviously, he kind of fits the bill for what they're looking at. He's even bigger than the 2 guys we already talked about. But that's going to be a longer road with him. It's an out-of-state kid. You're going to have to build a lot more familiarity with him. He doesn't have that sort of understanding that these kids in state innately have. They don't know the stories about T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy and all those things. So you have to build that. That's where the recruiting and the salesmanship comes in it. Get him to campus. Continue building that relationship, but he definitely fits the build. Never mind the fact that he doesn't have a ranking. I think where networks lack the most is rating bigs, especially defensive tackles. The kid's an absolute stud. Hopefully they can get him on campus a couple more times and see what happens. But what you said was interesting about Dylan Battle is obviously Michigan, Cal, Notre Dame. You love seeing those schools mentioned because that's going to open up the door for Texas. That academics are going to be a pitch. And then another thing you mentioned that stood out about that was Bo Davis has the same advantage that Tashard Choice had when he came to Texas from Georgia, because he knows that landscape in a different location a lot better than most coaches that he's competing for in the Southeast, right? So he's going to know the Texas talent better than anybody at Florida or Georgia or the Mississippi schools or any of that. And so he's got a little built-in advantage that Texas is going to have to be cognizant of and overcome. So, but I do like the fact that they're looking out west. Wherever the bigs are, you've got to go. Sharma's a good kid. Got to get him on campus.
Yeah, and you talked about it when we started. It's just so important, defensive tackle position, going into the SEC, and like you said, taking 2.5, virtually 3 guys in the last 2 cycles. You'd like to see Sadir Mitchell take that next step. You want to see what Alex January looks like when and he's already on campus as well. So I think this is going to be a class where they load up, and I think they essentially have to. And not to mention, post spring ball, don't be surprised if they go back into the portal and grab one of these D linemen as well.
Yeah, no doubt. One last thing before we wrap up, I talked to Troy Hune, the 2026 quarterback that was just offered this week. Man, what an impressive kid. Talked about how he got on UT's radar. He kind of he's been extremely proactive in his interest of Texas, and that was when you show that interest, they'll know that you're serious, and they'll be serious about you in return, especially if you can fling it around like him. So I'm going to post an article and interview with him up here on Inside Texas in a little bit. People are going to want to go check that out.
Be sure, yes, come to InsideTexas.com. We're having a special $1 for 1 month. And I'm telling you, this it's such a great time to get in. We're talking about spring ball happening. We're talking about the class of 2025 starting to build. We're talking about spring visits. This is the time. Like and subscribe to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. Get us to that 7,000 subs. We're growing rapidly, and we absolutely love all of your support. Eric, thank you again. Viewers, thank you again for letting us be a part of your day and joining inside the program. And once again, like and subscribe to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. And thank you. And join us soon.